So the big question is Prores worth it? We'll be going through an overview of the new iPhone 13 Pro camera, as well as comparing the different codecs when filming on your iPhone 13 Pro. Apple announced that the iPhone 13 Pro and the Pro Max will have ProRes. Currently it is not out yet for the new iPhone system-wide. Recently, Filmic Pro has added in ProRes, and as of this recording, only Filmic Pro has the ProRes feature in the new iPhone 13 Pro and the Pro Max. Filmic Pro currently has 422 proxy, 422 LT, 422, and 422 HQ. In this video, we'll be mainly filming in 422 HQ to show you the best quality of ProRes on Filmic Pro. For a quick overview of what the iPhone 13 Pro and Pro Max have for their camera features, it has a 12 megapixel camera system containing a telephoto, a wide, and ultra wide lens. The telephoto goes up to 2.8 aperture, the wide goes to 1.5, and the ultra wide goes to 1.8 with a 120-degree field of view. And all three of them have new and bigger sensors. ProRes is a high-quality, lossy video compression format that's used in many cinema cameras today. When opening Filmic Pro, when you go to the settings icon and then click resolution, scroll over to the ProRes tile, and you'll be met with a ProRes icon in the top left. There'll be a number there that will indicate how much longer you have of filming in that current format you are in. ProRes is only available in 4K up to 30 frames per second for models up to 256 gigabytes or higher, up to 1 terabyte. In our video, we had the 256 gigabyte version, so we'll be showing you up to 4K 24 frames per second. In Filmic Pro, we'll be comparing the ProRes codec, the Dolby Vision HDR, and we'll be comparing the 10-bit HEVC footage. For all of the videos we'll be demonstrating, all of them will be shot in 24 frames per second, 4K at 1/50th of a second, all at the very lowest ISO for that lens. From my experience and learning from others, the lowest ISO for each lens reduces the amount of grain and also has the best quality picture for it. For our setup, we have our iPhone on the tripod, and attached is a variable ND filter on it. And I've noticed that many iPhone reviews do not utilize an ND filter, and this does decrease on the amount of control you have on your camera. For a cinematic look, you usually want to film at 24 frames per second and doubling that number for your shutter speed. For our video, we did 1/50th of a second. And to maintain that 1/50th of a second, you want to be able to use an ND filter. An ND filter is basically sunglasses for your lens, allowing you to have more control over your settings for your video. If you take a look at the footage without the ND filter, you can notice that even at our set 1/50th of a second at the lowest ISO, is very bright. So when we do have the ND filter, we have more control over our image and what we are able to produce in the camera. Now that we have a basic overview of all the settings we have and an overview of what the camera is capable of, let's go dive into the comparisons. Again, we shot in ProRes, Dolby Vision, and 10-bit HEVC files. What I've noticed between the ProRes, the Dolby Vision HDR, and the 10-bit footage is that the 10-bit footage, it definitely shows that there's a dramatic quality loss in it compared to the ProRes. The main difference between the ProRes and the Dolby Vision HDR is that the ProRes is not HDR footage. Our ProRes footage is actually an SDR, not HDR. The main reason why I want to highlight this is because the HDR footage, it will definitely be easier in the edit for color grading. Another aspect is, although all three of them are shooting at 10-bit, the Dolby Vision HDR footage and the ProRes footage are showing more detail and sharpness when we zoom into the footage. The colors for both Dolby Vision HDR and ProRes are showing more detail in it as well, allowing us to easily edit it more in post-production. One thing I did notice is that the ProRes isn't as compressed. It is utilizing the entire hardware of the cameras itself. You can definitely notice that the ProRes has better quality in it because the ProRes is utilizing the entire sensor. For quality difference, for the ultra-wide lens, there are some noise in the sides of the footage. Even though they did update the sensor, we do still get some of that grain, but it's not as prevalent. For the telephoto lens, we are getting great detail. In our example shots, we have the architecture shots. You can definitely see the detail of the panels and the architecture of the buildings. Out of all three lenses though, standard wide lens seems to be the best quality, not having too much grain and having great detail in the quality of the picture. After taking a look at the comparisons, there are definitely a lot of pros to ProRes footage, but a couple of cons as well. Some pros is that you're definitely getting the best quality footage that your iPhone is able to produce. In turn, this does lead to higher video files, which could be a huge downside when trying to film on an iPhone, since you are limited to the internal storage of your iPhone. Another aspect I want to mention is that since the iPhone 13 Pro and Pro Max only have a Lightning port, you are getting USB 2 speeds when trying to transfer it to your computer. So even with these comparison videos, it took about almost 10 minutes just to transfer these files, and most of the clips were under 10 seconds. A third con will be the SDR footage. While ProRes is good, you do have to think about if you want to film in HDR or SDR. ProRes is a great format, but if you are leaning towards more HDR footage, definitely go to the Dolby Vision HDR. It's still a great format to film in. So the main thoughts would be that the ProRes, while it does have the higher file sizes, you get the most out of your camera. But if you want HDR footage and not have as high of file sizes, the Dolby Vision HDR footage is still great. As for filming in the standard 10-bit or 8-bit on Filming Pro, I don't think they're as great of a format to film in compared to Dolby Vision HDR and ProRes. I would recommend filming mainly in Dolby Vision HDR if you are looking for lower file sizes but still great quality. But if you want the highest quality, whether like you're filming for a short film or a feature or documentary, etc., ProRes is definitely the way to go. For the ProRes footage, I did see more detail compared to the Dolby Vision HDR, mainly because it is utilizing the maximum quality of the phone. But Dolby Vision HDR still has great quality to it compared to the 10-bit format. While there is ProRes now in the camera for iPhone 13 Pros, even though the software is there, we have the industry standards, our hardware in our cameras is limited, mainly because the sensors are bigger than previous models. They aren't as big as professional cameras or the cinema cameras that do have ProRes on it. So it is very interesting on how Apple will be able to continue improving its camera while supporting an industry standard format. So is ProRes worth it? Okay. This is the ending part, not the conclusion. So is ProRes worth it? I feel like it is worth it, depending of course on what you're filming. If you're just filming casual videos, Dolby Vision HDR is great footage already. But for ProRes, it's mainly for upcoming, intermediate, and experienced filmmakers out there who want to film on their iPhone.